We had an executive session at 5:45. However, there were no votes taken in executive session. At this time, I'm going to reconvene the open meeting. Would you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence? Mr. Marciano has been excused this evening, member of the committee. Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes, open session on August 23rd.
Motion to approve.
Motion
Second.
made, second. Questions? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Second item is approval of the executive session on August 23rd.
Motion made with appropriate subsection of Rhode Island State law.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made, second. Any questions? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have no correspondence. No one has signed up for public comment. Item number 7, Chair will entertain a motion for the consent.
So moved to present, motion made to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Motion and a second. Any questions on the consent agenda? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 8, Superintendent's Report. Mr. Goho.
Thank you, Dr. Pilata, members of the committee. The first item, I am requesting approval of the district virtual learning plan. It is the same plan that you have approved for the last 2 years. Also has been approved previously by the Department of Education. We are required to submit it yearly after school committee approval, and I am requesting a motion to approve the virtual learning plan should we need them for up to 5 days for inclement weather.
Okay. Motion made.
There's a motion and a second. Any questions? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next item on your agenda is a renewal of the longstanding agreement between the North Providence School Department and the North Providence Police Department regarding the school resource officer program in our school system. The agreement has expired, and I am requesting approval of the new 3-year MOU.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next item on the agenda is a change to our school calendar. We've become aware that the state of Department of Education and statewide transportation is recognizing the Veterans Day observance on Monday, November 13th. Our calendar had Friday as the day of observance, so we will be switching that to Monday. And I'm asking for the committee to approve the revised calendar, which will be immediately sent home tomorrow to all staff and all families.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? Comments? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion carries. Reports. We have no school committee reports. We have no old business. Item number 11, new business. Mr. Goho.
Thank you, Dr. Pilata. Members of the committee, I am making a recommendation to approve the termination of the employment agreement with the non-certified employee effective November 6th, 2023, and also for the employee to be placed on unpaid suspension until that time.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any questions? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next item on the agenda, if you recall, we had solicited a bid for athletic training for our athletic teams at the high school. We received one bid submission from Dr. Dennis Lanny. At that time last month, the committee asked for an expanded proposal to include more athletic programs and more athletic teams. I know that Mr. Ficcicelli has worked hard with Mr. Lanny to expand the proposal. I'm going to ask Mr. Ficcicelli to come to the podium just to clarify exactly what the new proposal and agreement will cover, and then we will move forward with approval. Yes, Dr. Lanny is here as well.
Hi, good evening, everyone. We did expand the proposal to cover all sports that are on campus right now at North Bronx High School. So it's football, soccer, basketball, volleyball, so on and so on and so on. Girls tennis only has one home match this year, so when that game is there, they will also cover that game as well. Moving forward, we'll have that covered for next year as well. I can say Dr. Lane is doing an outstanding job. He uses a app called WhatsApp, and it gives you real-time updates to the coaches and myself. So I know exactly what's happening throughout the course of a game. For instance, we had a couple of football players had a couple of minor injuries, but during the course of the game, I could actually see as they were treating them, what they're doing, cleared to go back in the game, not cleared to go back in the game. A couple of other students that were injured have been going to Dr. Lanny and getting some treatment on the side, and both kids have come back and said they literally haven't felt better. So we're super, super pleased that we have Dr. Lanny and his group on board and moving forward, excited to have them here treating our students because we think it's a valuable piece of sports to have somebody on site ready to treat in a moment's notice because our coaches only have basic first aid knowledge, and having a professional come out there and be able to treat somebody at the time of need is outstanding. Yes.
Oh, thanks, Mike, but I got to ask the chair to do it.
God.
Not Mike, Anthony. So, Anthony,
Yeah.
what I wanted to say was I appreciate us putting it back together.
Sure.
My question is boys tennis. I'm
Yep.
going to guess if girls tennis wasn't planned, it wasn't.
Yep.
Is it better for us to give flexibility to the district within like 5,000 or 10,000? So if something comes up, because I'm going to guess, schedule, we may
Sure.
not be able to do anything that we could do, and
Yep.
we could at least give Joe the leverage.
Yep.
Based on
Yeah,
the
I'm sorry.
coordination.
Yeah, I had talked to Dr. Lanny about boys tennis earlier. Correct. Right. Yeah, I had talked to Dr. Lanny about that earlier today, and we said we were going to chat about it. So yes, if we could have some little leverage, that'd be fine. That'd be great.
I'd be happy to. Somebody else wants to say anything.
No, I,
We approve the proposal as submitted with the ability for the district to have the flexibility to go from 5 to 10,000 if needed for boys tennis and other needs as they arise.
Sure. That fair enough to me. I'm not going to say no.
so there's a motion?
Are you talking about the FY24 budget
I'm talking
or
about
the
this
current budget?
the current budget, because this wouldn't cover boys tennis, and it wouldn't cover some of the after school, was my understanding when I spoke with Mr. Ficcicelli.
I would just say that give the administration time to identify.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. If they need, that's what I'm saying. That we submit the proposal as presented, but give the district, Joe and Anthony, the flexibility within 5 to 10,000 if there's a need for boys tennis with the coordination of Dr. Lanny, should that arise, because then our boys tennis team isn't covered.
I don't have any problem with the boys' tennis being covered. I just want to identify the line item where the money will come from.
Well, it's the same line item. It's the fund balance.
Okay, but we still need approval of that.
Right. That's what.
You understand the question?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, there's a motion on the floor to approve the athletic training proposal with an additional $5,000 to $10,000, maximum $10,000 if needed for services to provide not just to the tennis team, but if
Yes.
or strictly just to the tennis team?
No.
Or
It'd be tennis team and potentially others.
potential, okay.
Yeah.
That's your-
So that we the things that
Right.
were not anticipated based on Mr.
Correct.
Ficcicelli's and Mr. Goho's review.
Right.
Okay.
I'll second that.
So I'll have a discussion. What are the protocols in place to make sure that we didn't just give somebody a $10,000 raise?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
What are the protocols in place to make sure we didn't just give someone,
Oh, yeah.
respect anybody, but a
I understand.
$10,000 raise?
Yeah.
Have those?
Yeah. No. You want Miss Lane to come up and talk more about it?
Well, I'd like to have him on my team because I always vote for big boys. He's the size. Yeah, I'd love to hear it. Because
Yes.
it's streamed and you have to be on the mic.
So my understanding of what Mrs. Picard is saying is everything is good as it is. If they all of a sudden need tennis covered, that would be a little bit more. If they said we're going to run a few holiday tournaments or we're going to host a regional, whatever it is,
So it's
that
at the
would just give them
discretion of
access.
the athletic director.
AD, not me.
Perfect.
So if he says, hey, we're going to have a holiday tournament, it's going to go 2 days, we need you to cover it. That would be outside of what the proposal was.
Junior varsity, is that covered, Anthony? So if you needed it for JV, that would be that as well.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lanny. Thank you, Anthony. And obviously, the goal is to protect the kids, keep them safe and healthy. And we really appreciate your submitting that bid, Mr. Lanny. Dr. Lanny, sorry. Okay, there's a motion on the floor in a second. Any other questions or concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank
Next
you.
item on the agenda, I would request approval by the committee of the athletic equipment bid as submitted.
So moved.
Second?
Questions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next item is I would request approval by the committee of the Throughline Pre-K Learning Engagement Contract as submitted.
Motion made.
Second.
Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next item is I would request approval by the committee of the Maxim Healthcare Services Agreement as submitted.
So moved?
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next item is I would request approval of the North Providence High School 2023 Winter Ball contract with Roads on the Patuxent as submitted.
Motion. Second.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
Next item, I would request approval from the committee of the 2023-2024 school committee meeting schedule as submitted.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
One note about that schedule is if you notice the July meeting has a to be determined. If you recall, this past year there was no need for a July meeting. We held a brief morning meeting to pay bills, and so it could potentially be the same procedure this July. Next item on the agenda is I would request removal of obsolete textbooks from the Birchwood Middle School and North Providence High School. The list is submitted in your packet.
Second.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 12, approval of bills.
Second.
Any questions on bills?
Just one quick one. I know
Over.
I had emailed Mrs. Castanelli about the charter school and the Davies in particular tuition. So we pay that up front. That's first quarter.
Yes, they always send the first quarter, usually right before the school year starts, because they have all their kids enrolled for that quarter. And Mrs. Lazaretti works pretty hard with Tim Heston to
She does.
to ensure that they're all actually students,
Okay.
that we
That's-
own them.
That's fine because I know the school year has just started and I was surprised to see a bill already and say, wait a minute.
It's pretty standard.
Okay.
They come
All
pretty early.
Other than that, everything looked great. Very well organized.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Use of property requests.
Motion to approve.
So motion
Second.
made and a second.
Yeah,
Questions?
Yeah, just a quick question.
Mr.
I
Silva.
had a chat with Mr. Goho today, and I noticed that there are several potential overlaps with school groups and sports leagues, but Mr. Goho is going to speak to that.
Yeah, so I did follow up with Mr. Feroli's secretary. Mr. Feroli, as you know, oversees transportation. He oversees the custodians, but also use of property. And there were 59, and then 2 more added, 61 uses of property submitted this month, which will now all have to be managed through the course of the school year. But there were some requests for property usage by individual groups, and some on paper had a conflict with, say, for example, a youth league who may be using a gym for the entire week. So when I followed up with the secretary, she said that she had kept track of all of those property usages that reflected a conflict and had been in touch with the youth leagues to let them know that those other organizations would have to use the facility on that night. because just giving we give a blanket approval to those youth leagues with the understanding that
School functions come first.
we may get town youth functions, PTO functions that would.
Right, and I was looking at it and started making a list for myself, and then I said, wait a minute, maybe they already do that, so.
We did, but if you have the list, it would be helpful.
I do have a list. I do have a list.
Just to make sure we didn't miss any.
Okay.
There was a motion.
Yeah, we got them.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have no requests to address the committee. We have no pending business. Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion made, seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.